Welcome back to For the Home Cook. Of course, this show is all about saving us money on our grocery bills as prices get higher, as our budgets get tighter. And we are going to continue a series called Make It or Buy It, where I explore some things that maybe you have in your house or that you use in your house a lot more than others. And we're going to talk about whether we should just make it from scratch or buy it. So today we are going to do something where we're going to make one thing into another thing and then that thing into something else. We'll talk about the price comparison on whether you should buy it or just make it at home. So we're going to start with buttermilk. So if you have ever had a recipe where you need buttermilk and all of a sudden you forgot, or maybe you only need a cup of buttermilk but you don't want buttermilk in your house, this is going to be the segment for you. So it's super easy to make. It only takes 2 ingredients, and you can make a lot of buttermilk without having to commit with having to have buttermilk in your house. We did not grow up using a lot of buttermilk. Like I said, it was for specific recipes where you needed it. So there was no reason for me to buy this entire thing and keep it in my house because we're not going to use it that often. But if you use a lot of buttermilk, we'll talk about a price comparison on whether you should just make it or buy it. So let's make some buttermilk. So this one's super simple. White vinegar. So this costs, a little bit over $1. So it's not that expensive. And a lot of us still have this in our house because we used it for 1 or 2 things, and now you're still stuck with an entire container. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a tablespoon into, you can either do this in a measuring cup or in a big measuring cup like this. I don't have steady hands, so I would not put this in the 1 cup measuring cup because I'm going to spill half of it anyway. But we're going to take this, we're going to put a tablespoon of white vinegar. You can also use lemon juice. Lemon juice is going to be cheaper because lemons are cheaper, and you probably only need 1, maybe 2 max. So a tablespoon of either lemon juice or white vinegar, and then you're going to fill the rest up to that 1 cup with your whole milk. Now, you could make this with other milks. I would not say that it's probably going to taste better than what you have, so I just use whole milk if you can. So we're going to stir this up, and then you're going to let this sit on the countertop for about 5 minutes. Boom, now you have buttermilk. Okay, so if we're talking about price comparison, if you were to buy buttermilk, so this one that I bought here, it's going to cost you about $2.12 to buy it. Once again, if you used a lot of buttermilk, cool, buy it. It's probably going to last you a long, not a long time. For a quart, $2.12. If you make it and you have the ingredients, so a lot of us have milk in our fridge, a lot of us have this white vinegar or a lemon in our cabinet, it's going to cost you about 52 cents to make a cup. So this is 52 cents. If you do a quart has what, 4 cups? So it's going to cost you about the same if you want to buy it from a quart or if you want to make it. Once again, the cost factor is how much buttermilk are you actually going to use. So if you already have the ingredients, it's probably better just to go ahead and make it for that one recipe. If you find that you're going to use a lot of buttermilk for a lot of different things, it'd be more cost effective just to go ahead and buy it, and that way you can use it many, many times instead of using up your milk. So that's what I would do. Once again, I don't buy a lot of buttermilk, so you would be spending about $2.08 to make the equivalent of a quart in this way, and then you're spending $2.12 to buy a quart. So there you go on your cost comparison. If you're not going to use a lot, just make it from scratch, make it at home. If you're going to use a lot, go ahead and buy it so that you can do it. So here's a reason why you would want to buy it kind of in bulk in a quart, because one of my favorite things just in general in life, like what life is worth living for, is ranch dressing. And a lot of us have gone to a certain chain, I wouldn't call it a restaurant, a certain place that has probably one of the best ranches I've ever had in my entire life. And there's a lot of places that have great ranch. So we're going to make our ranch from scratch-ish. And then we're going to price compare on whether you should just make it or buy it. So what I've got here is we're going to do 2 cups of mayonnaise. Now this one's about 15 ounces, so we're going to be down about an ounce. That's okay. You want to get a mayonnaise that is not, I don't want to say without flavor, but you're not going to go get the tangy mayonnaise. And you guys probably know what I'm talking about. You don't want tangy mayonnaise. You want a mayonnaise that is more flavorless. than it is with like that tang to it. In a future segment, or maybe just, search around down here, we're also going to try to make mayonnaise from scratch. I've seen it done. The biggest thing is that you need an immersion blender, and I don't have one of those. So in a future episode or one below, we'll definitely try to make some mayonnaise from scratch. It is super simple. It only takes 3 or 4 ingredients. The immersion blender is kind of the thing that you need the most of. All right, so I have some buttermilk that I made earlier today, and then I'm gonna also use this so that we can get 2 cups. So we've got 2 cups of mayonnaise. We're gonna do 2 cups of buttermilk. I left just a little bit since we were kind of minus some in the mayonnaise. And then we are gonna use 3 packets of ranch seasoning. Now, in a future episode, we'll probably make this from scratch because it takes like 7 or 8 different things that you put to make the ranch seasoning. I'm gonna tell you, some of those you're gonna have to go out and find and buy, and they're not going to be that cheap. Now, if you're talking like garlic, onion, those you can get for $1. It's gonna be things like going to find dill, going to find dry dill, because that's not in every store, and it's not gonna be only $1. So I would say in this recipe, if you plan to make it from scratch, unless you look up in your cabinet and you have all of those seasonings, just go ahead and buy it. This comes in a 4-pack. I think it was like $2.50 for a 4-pack. And then you can just keep this and use it for something else. Or if you taste this and you're like, I want more ranch flavor, go ahead and use that. Use that 4th package. So this is it. I know that there are a lot of recipes out there that have different ingredients and things. This is literally just mayonnaise and buttermilk and the seasoning, and then we're gonna call it good. We're gonna take our whisk. Obviously, once you get done with this, you do want to pop this into the fridge. That's where you're going to get all of those flavors kind of mixing together. If you're in a rush, obviously this is good to go. So you could pour this out into a bowl and then use it for whatever. I know we get into those seasons, especially as you get into like, sports seasons and in the summer and things like that, where, you're going to need ranch for a lot of different appetizers or parties or whatever. So this is a great time to, make this in bulk and then be like the favorite person at your party because you have the best tasting ranch. All right, I'm just gonna taste this just to make sure that we're good to go. And then we'll talk about how we're gonna turn this into another dish. So we always like to do dishes that are gonna be cost effective. And so I couldn't leave you guys without a dish that you could make that's gonna be very cost effective. And if you made something like this, you can take this, whether it's the leftovers or the whole recipe, and turn it into something you can put into a different dish. Heck yeah. Okay, so that's good to go. Obviously, put that in the fridge. It will thicken, it will get cold, all the seasonings will come together, so great ranch. You could add some more seasoning, I won't. So we're good to go with that. So when we talk about making ranch, this one, I would say it's gonna cost about $10 to make. So we're talking about buying this, we're talking about buying the buttermilk, buying the mayonnaise, about $10. So a lot of people will go, well, that's really expensive for me to spend $10 on ranch when I can spend $1 or $2 or $3 for whatever your favorite kind is. I will tell you, flavor-wise, I would rather make it like this. I like the flavor of this ranch. If you have a favorite ranch that you just absolutely love and you buy it every single time, $10 is a lot. But I would argue that this is going to be more like if you bought $10 worth of ranch, you would be at about the same amount, if not this making just a little bit more, because now you can add, if you look at this and you're like, okay, I want it to be thinner or I want it to be thicker, you could add more buttermilk into this. You could add a little bit more mayonnaise. You could add a little bit more seasoning. Use up all of those ingredients that you bought and then make more ranch. So if you want to go by taste, I would do it this way. I would make it instead of buy it. But if you don't care, if you're not a huge ranch fan or you don't use it a lot, then go ahead and buy it because it's going to be cheaper than what you're making here. But let's talk about what I would do with this. So we talked before in episodes about foods that are cost effective that you can make large volumes of to make meals that are going to be cost effective. So that's what I have here. So if any of you guys have ever been to the place where you can get like burrito bowls, and you get to pick a rice, and then you get to pick beans and a meat and a whatever, and you go down the line and you pick all the things. That's what we're doing here. So let me show you what I've made. So I have here on my right, your left, we have some cilantro lime rice. So this is literally just some white rice in a bag that we made, and then once it's done, I put in some cilantro, I put in some lime juice, mix it up, and there you go. Next to that, these are pinto beans. You can also use black beans. These are very cost effective. First of all, your rice is cost effective because limes are cheap, cilantro is cheap, white rice is cheap. So all three of these things you can make in bulk. This is going to be kind of the majority of what your dish is going to be besides lettuce. Here we have some pinto beans. You can do this, you can do black beans. These are both cost effective, vitamin rich, nutrient rich. And so this can be another bulk of what you're gonna put in these bowls. Next to that are some fajita veggies. So these are just bell peppers and onions. Once again, very cost effective vegetables. You can get a lot of these, just put them in a pan, a little bit of oil, a little bit of butter. I put a lid on top so that they can soften before they saute. You don't wanna saute vegetables and then those still be hard or super, super crunchy. So you can season these however you'd like, but fajita vegetables, super cost effective. Next to that, we have some meat. So depending on what kind that you like, chicken, beef, whatever, this was already cut. So a package of this was about, I want to say $14 for this whole thing, but this is a lot, and you could cut this up even smaller. I didn't cut it up at all, but you could cut this up smaller. I just seasoned it with whatever seasonings you have up in your cabinet, and then cooked it in the air fryer. You could also do it in, the oven or whatever. So a great resource here is to just go find whatever the cheapest cut of meat or chicken that you like, season it really well, cook it really well, and that doesn't have to be a bulk of your bowl, but it can be a part of that. So then we're gonna add some cheese, obviously. We're gonna add some guacamole. This one's optional. I know guacamole is not cheap, and especially I bought it in like the little minis so that it doesn't get like that weird color 2 or 3 days in. So this one is optional because that's gonna be a cost. So you could just get some avocado, chop it up, or you could just do without that altogether. Now, this last thing that I'll show you, I like corn salsa, and you can make that really, really easily at home. So I used a white onion because that's what I had with my fajita veggies. Most recipes call for a purple onion. If you want to grab another one, you can. I had enough onion where I could do this and that at the same time with only one really large onion. Once again, if you want purple onion, do you. But I got a can of corn. I also got some cilantro, some onion, and some jalapeno, chopped all of that up, and then added in some lime juice, some salt, pepper, garlic, a little bit of cumin. That lime juice is gonna make it have like this juice that kind of settles to the bottom. And then I did that I made it the day before, and then you have a corn salsa. So all of this I'll talk about below when we talk about cost and how to make it and all that kind of stuff. But what I'll do is I'm gonna take this ranch, I'm gonna put it in a blender with some jalapeno, with some cilantro, and with some lime juice, and then make a jalapeno ranch that we can pour on the top of this. Now, you could use whatever you want in terms of toppings. I know people do like queso or things like that, but I like a cilantro lime ranch, and I like that we can use what we need out of this for whatever dish that you used it for, that you made it for, but we can also set some of this aside and then add in some jalapenos, some lime juice, and some cilantro, which all three of those are really, really cost-effective ingredients, and then turn this into a jalapeno ranch that we can then put on top of this dish that we have here. So when it comes to ranch, I would rather make it than buy it if you're gonna eat a lot of ranch. And if you like the quality of ranch, I would go ahead and make it, and then we can use it for several different things instead of just buying a bottle for that one thing. Let's make it and actually enjoy what it tastes like. So There you go. Check below for prices, comparison, ingredients, recipes, all of those good things. Thank you for joining us for the Home Cook as we explore whether we should make it or buy it, and we'll see you next time.